The night the flood swallowed my house, I was standing in freezing water holding my 6-year-old daughter. She was crying, our walls were cracking, and my husband, he was in a luxury hotel with another woman. When the water finally went down, I thought I had lost everything. I was wrong, because 3 days later, my husband looked me in the eyes and said, "This house is mine now. You need to leave." I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just smiled because he had no idea. He never owned it. And before we continue, make sure to subscribe to follow this journey of betrayal, revenge, and empowerment. You won't want to miss what happens next. My name is Elena Brooks. I'm 38 years old, an architect, calm, precise, logical. People often said I was emotionally distant, but the truth? I just don't panic. We lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Houston. Beautiful lawns, friendly neighbors, expensive homes, and a marriage that looked perfect from the outside. My husband, Daniel Brooks, was charming, confident, social, the kind of man who could walk into a room and own it. But storms reveal what sunshine hides. The weather alerts were constant. News stations kept repeating the name Hurricane Harvey over and over. Historic rainfall, catastrophic flooding, evacuate if necessary. Daniel laughed it off. "Elena, they exaggerate every year. Relax." But I didn't relax. I packed emergency bags. I sealed important documents in waterproof folders. I charged power banks. Daniel packed too, but not emergency supplies. A suitcase. "I have an important investor meeting downtown," he said. During a hurricane. I didn't argue. I already knew. It wasn't investors. It was Isabella, his assistant. At 2:13 a.m., water started seeping under the back door. By 2:40, it was inside the living room. By 3:10, it reached my knees. Sophia woke up screaming, "Mom, what's happening?" I picked her up and held her tightly. "It's okay, baby. Mommy's here." But inside, I was calculating survival. I called Daniel. He answered on the 4th ring. Music was playing in the background. Laughter. A woman's voice. "Elena, I'm busy. The house is flooding." Silence. Then he sighed. "Insurance will cover it. Stop panicking." The water was rising around me. "Daniel, Sophia is scared. I'll deal with it later." Click. That was the moment something inside me shut down. Not anger, not tears, just clarity. 3 days later, the flood receded. Our home was destroyed. Floors warped, walls soaked, memories ruined. Sophia's drawings floated in mud. My custom architectural designs? Gone. Daniel came home finally, not to check on us, to check the damage. "Elena, I'll handle the insurance claim." I nodded. Then he said something I didn't expect. "You and Sophia should stay with your mother for now." "For how long?" He didn't hesitate. "I'm staying here." I stared at him. "Excuse me?" He looked almost relieved to say it. "Isabella is moving in." My daughter was standing in the hallway. She heard everything. That night, Sophia asked me, "Mom, does Dad not love us anymore?" I held her and said something I barely believed myself. Sometimes people show you who they are during storms. There was one thing Daniel didn't know. When we bought the house 5 years ago, I didn't put it in his name, or mine. It was purchased under my architectural firm, Brooks Architectural Holdings, LLC. a company I built long before I met him. My lawyer once told me, protect your foundation the way you protect your blueprints. Daniel never read the paperwork carefully. He just signed where I pointed. He thought he owned everything. But ownership isn't about ego. It's about documents. 3 days later, Daniel told me officially, you need to move out. I looked at him calmly. Okay. He smirked. He thought I was defeated. He thought the storm broke me. But storms don't destroy architects. They teach us how to rebuild stronger. 3 days later, he received a legal notice from Brooks Architectural Holdings, LLC. Subject: unauthorized occupancy. His face changed color. He drove straight to my mother's house. You can't do this. I stood up slowly. I'm not doing anything. I'm protecting my property. Property? This is my house. No, Daniel. I handed him a copy of the deed. It never was. Isabella called me that evening. You're being petty. No, I replied calmly. I'm being prepared. Daniel begged for time. He threatened court. He shouted. But I had something stronger than anger. Proof. And I wasn't finished yet, because the flood may have taken my furniture, but it gave me something better. Freedom. Daniel thought he could bully me in private. He was about to learn the first rule of my comeback. There's no private anymore. I contacted the local news station. Good morning, I'm Elena Brooks, I said in a composed tone on live television. Our community just faced a devastating hurricane. Many families lost their homes, and some people are exploiting the disaster for personal gain. The anchor raised an eyebrow. I continued. Unfortunately, some residents, people we trusted, refuse to honor agreements with their families. This leaves children and spouses at risk. Daniel's phone rang non-stop. His business partners were now calling. He didn't know I made this subtle yet deadly broadcast legally untraceable to me, but impactful enough for local attention. By evening, neighbors whispered, "Did you see what he said about Daniel? Did you ever know he'd abandon his own daughter?" And Daniel? Red-faced, cornered, powerless. Next step, finances. Daniel thought he was untouchable. He had a secret. He gambled with my company's shared accounts, those I allowed him access to for convenience. But I had double-layered auditing software. Every transaction was traceable. By Monday, his creditors called. Lawsuits started. Accounts frozen. He begged me in texts, "Elena, please don't ruin me. Let me fix this." I didn't reply. Instead, I started transferring essential documents from our shared legal vault to a secure location. One by one, Daniel's empire crumbled while I watched silently. And Sophia? She cheered in her small, innocent way. "Mom, you're like a superhero." One rainy evening, Sophia approached me, clutching a soaked teddy bear. "Mom, are we safe now?" I hugged her tight. "Sweetheart, storms never last forever, and neither do people who hurt us." She looked up with big, tear-filled eyes. "I don't want him to be mean to anyone else." That moment hit me harder than any betrayal. I realized my revenge wasn't just about Daniel. It was about teaching him what respect, trust, and love truly cost. By week 3, Daniel filed a lawsuit, claiming ownership of the home. The courtroom was packed. Lawyers, media, and neighbors filled the gallery. Daniel was confident. He leaned toward Isabella, whispering, "She can't win, not in front of everyone." The judge asked, "Miss Brooks, what is your claim?" I stood tall, calm. "My claim is simple.
This property has never been his. All deeds, legal agreements, and financial records prove that. The mortgage, the insurance, everything, solely under Brooks Architectural Holdings, LLC. Daniel tried to interrupt. The judge silenced him. His face turned pale as I handed over every piece of evidence. The courtroom gasped. Neighbors whispered. So that's why she always seemed unshakable. Within hours, the judge ruled in my favor. Daniel had no legal rights, no claim, no leverage. I smiled quietly. But my revenge wasn't done. I contacted a community charity. Hurricane survivors need help, I said. Let's start a rebuilding fund. The media covered it. I became the face of resilience in Houston. Daniel's mistress, Isabella, tried to approach me. You don't need to make it public, I replied softly. I'm not making it public for me. I'm making it for the people he would have ignored. By month 2, Daniel's businesses collapsed, his reputation destroyed. Isabella vanished from the city. Sophia and I moved into our fully restored home. And the best part? Daniel had no idea how I planned it all from the start. One afternoon, Daniel returned. Please, I just want to see Sophia one last time. I looked at him in the eyes. You'll see her in court, supervised. He swallowed hard. And then I revealed the ultimate twist. I had sold all his shares in our joint investments without telling him, and invested in a new project, one he had refused to join. That project skyrocketed. Now, not only had Daniel lost everything, I had doubled my wealth. I walked past him with Sophia. She waved, he bowed his head. And in that moment, I realized the flood didn't just wash away our home. It washed away my fears, my hesitation, and left me unstoppable. The judge's jabble echoed through the courtroom. Case dismissed in favor of Elena Brooks. The words felt like thunder inside me. Daniel froze. The air thickened with disbelief. Outside the courthouse, the media circled me. Cameras flashed, microphones thrust forward. Miss Brooks, how do you feel after winning against your husband? Miss Brooks, is this the end of your revenge? I smiled softly. I don't call it revenge. I call it
justice. Neighbors whispered. She's fearless. She stood against him and won. For the first time in years, I felt truly untouchable. Not because of money, not because of power, but because I reclaimed my life. At home, Sophia hugged me tightly. You did it, Mom, she exclaimed, eyes shining. You saved us. I kissed her forehead. Sweetheart, we survived the storm. That's all that matters. She looked up and whispered, Will he ever come back? I smiled knowingly. Maybe, but now we hold the power. Sophia's innocence reminded me of why I fought so hard. It wasn't for revenge alone. It was for her safety, her future, and the lesson that strength matters more than fear. Daniel's financial empire crumbled in the following weeks. Isabella disappeared. Investors pulled out of Daniel's ventures. Meanwhile, I partnered with local charities to rebuild homes destroyed by the hurricane. I became the face of resilience. Local news interviewed me again. Miss Brooks, what advice do you have for women in similar situations? I looked directly into the camera. Protect yourself. Trust your instincts. Don't let anyone take away your life or your home, and never let betrayal define you. Build, rise, and show your strength. Always.
Daniel's name faded from the headlines. Mine became synonymous with courage, strategy, and unstoppable power. With Daniel gone, Isabella gone, and Sophia safe, I focused on our life. Our home was rebuilt, stronger than ever. Sophia thrived in school and art. I expanded my architectural firm internationally. Every setback became a lesson. Every betrayal became fuel. Every storm prepared me for the next challenge. I had not just survived, I had thrived. And Daniel, he was a shadow of the man who once underestimated me. Months later, Daniel attempted one last move, a public attempt to discredit me, claiming corporate fraud against my architectural firm. I smiled. I had anticipated this. I had secretly documented every illegal business move Daniel made over the past 5 years. The result? The FBI and financial authorities intervened. Daniel's final plan backfired spectacularly. He was sued. He lost everything. He became a cautionary tale for the city. Meanwhile, I launched a new project, a community center for disaster survivors named after Sophia. The headlines read, "Architect who survived hurricane and betrayal builds safe haven for survivors." My life was no longer about revenge. It was about empowerment, strength, courage, resilience. Sophia stood on the balcony overlooking the restored neighborhood. She turned to me. "Mom, we're really safe now, aren't we?" "Yes, baby, and we'll always be prepared for storms, inside and out." She hugged me tight. In that moment, I realized the flood had taken our house. Betrayal had tried to break our family. But love, strategy, and courage rebuilt everything stronger than before. The final shot in my mind, and perfect for cinematic storytelling, Elena walks through her fully restored home with Sophia. Daniel's mansion in ruins in the background. Isabella vanished from the scene. A subtle, cinematic, slow zoom on Elena's confident, calm smile. The narration: sometimes storms destroy more than just walls. They destroy the illusion of safety, the mask of trust. But storms also reveal what's unbreakable, the strength inside. And when the world underestimates you, that's when you rise. Stronger, wiser, unstoppable. We survived. We rebuilt. And we won.